want to thank the American people for their constant support and prayers. We want to thank all the groups and organizations who have given us their wonderful support. The Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, the Survivors Outreach Services here at Fort Hood, the Chaplain Garrison's Office, and the Department of Justice's extremely dedicated Victim Witness Coordinator. Without them, these years would have been even harder. We want to thank all of those who worked tirelessly and spent countless hours away from their families to bring this case to justice. Their sacrifice for us, their professionalism, their ethics, their due diligence deserves more credit than we can express in words. This has been a very long and exhausting process. We are tired, we are hurt, but we are resolved. Justice has been served. Today's sentencing does not bring my father home, his laughter to our ears, and his smile to our eyes. But justice does not end here. You, the media, will decide whose voice will be heard and whose face will be remembered. Our hope it is not the voice of murderers or terrorists, but it is the voice of those who stood and those who continue to stand in a true and honorable defense of others. My father sacrificed his life to save those around him. I now ask what you are willing to sacrifice. Our current Congress chooses a culture of selfishness and greed. They choose not to sacrifice their own personal political gains and motivations. I hope they learn that sacrifice is not giving in, it is not compromise. It is what we do for our fellow Americans.
The last 3.5 years have been long and difficult. And although this court-martial is over, our lives have changed forever. The House of Grief is a very large house, and there's a lot of rooms in there. This court-martial is one of them, and it's a door we get to shut today. Like so many military families, we will never see our fallen hero again. So even when the cameras are gone and the reporters are gone, I'm asking you to remember. Remember our fallen soldiers, our wounded warriors, and the unfortunate growing number we are continuing to lose to military suicide. My father took care of soldiers till the end, and I ask that we as Americans do the same. As his family, we have the duty and the honor of continuing CW2 retired Michael Cahill's legacy. But we cannot do it alone. We need the VA, the American people, our Congress, our Senate, and our government as a whole to help us. The first 2 weeks after Dad died, people kept asking, what can we do? The answer now is very simple. Do your job. Do your job as proud citizens of the United States of America. There are multiple failings that caused this, but all of those organizations were made up of people and individuals, supervisors, officers, and agents. So I ask you to do your job with honesty, with honor, respect, and responsibility. Our rights for free speech, our rights to bear arms, and our rights as citizens do not come without a responsibility, a duty, and a price, a very steep price. So I ask you, the media, and the American people, what message will you focus on? What magazine will you buy? The one with murderers on the cover, attacking us like cancer, or the ones with heroes? We choose who we remember and how we inspire. There are two messages leaving that courtroom. There is the one of hatred, cowardice, and betrayal, and there is one of loyalty, dedication, and honor. Go back to the day of November 5th, 2009, Thursday. I want you to remember those who saved lives. The medics, the wounded, the SRP staff, those soldiers who did their job, and they saved every single life that they could have. The police who charged into gunfire without thought for themselves. That's what happens when you value your purpose and what you do. So when you remember that day, remember what heroes we make when we act like soldiers, and we act with honor and respect. And remember the tragedy that follows selfishness, cowardice, extremism, and betrayal. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. He was part of the greatest generation, a generation that understood honor and sacrifice, and my father inherited that. hope I have. And I hope as we, as Americans, can honor and remember and be inspired by all those heroes we have lost. Honor's not boastful, it's not greedy, it's not selfish, it's not cowardly. It's kind, it's generous, it's beautiful, and it's civil. I will honor and remember, and I hope you do too.
For the last 3 years, I have been making the commute to this courtroom. And there were days when we were finished, there were 3 people who put me back together. It was Mary Jo Speaker, it was Rosetta and SOS, and it was Sheriff Parker. And then I could drive home. So today, a weight has been lifted off of my shoulder. He's been held accountable for his actions. And the panel gave him justice. And I agreed with that justice. The 5 November 2009 Corbin shooting for the mass murder, as Mary Mulligan says, will be a part of American military history. It will be lessons learned and hopefully remembered. And I want that history to be accurate. That is why I am glad this went in full court-martial, without a plea, and with the prosecutors that we have. It has been a first-account testimony by the wounded, the soldiers, the civilians, the SRP staff, families, FBI, first responders. The people of this nation needed to hear their words. They needed to hear a hollow point a Bluetooth expanding bullet does to the body of a human being. The number of shell casings, the number of magazine clips. They needed to hear the pain and the PTSD that so many of our soldiers, our civilians, and our families feel and have today, and they needed to understand the horror and carnage inflicted that day. Lives were saved that day because of the very quick emergency care given by the SRP staff and by first responders. A weapon used that day that even gun enthusiasts say it was a weapon that should never have been put in the hands of private individuals. I want to thank some people from 2010 who right away decided to do something about the Corbin shooting. And one of them was former Secretary Gates and former Assistant Deputy Al Stockton. They ordered, they wrote, and they implemented a commission report. That report was issued in May of 2010, and because of the recommendations and because they implemented it, there were civilians and plots were foiled and lives were saved. One here at Fort Hood and another at Fort Stewart. Senator Lieberman and Senator Collins did their part by having hearings on the Fort Hood shooting in 2010. As far as how I feel about what is happening in Congress and all of that now, Colonel Mulligan's final statements today are a mirror of how I feel. So I don't really need to expand on that. There is going to be a memorial built to honor, to remember all our fallen and our wounded, and to tell their stories, and to remind our future generations of what happened. It is being built here in the city of Killeen. Many of the fallen and the wounded were Army reservists who were being deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Many of them volunteered to go. The memorial will be in a circle designed by Troy Kelly, and it will be a continuation of life. There are 13 bronzes designed by each one of the families, and they will be the cornerstone of that memorial. I want to thank all of you who have reported accurately on what people have said and for giving those families who want privacy their privacy.